Okay, our next presenter, Ranger Steve Bier, was in VVST 22. He has the claim to fame of being the last class through Ben Clark, forever. But then I understand you're going to run another one through Ben Clark down at Riverside starting this October. So you are looking at the last of his 15 minutes or 5 years of glory. Steve put on this presentation, and his presentation and one other that preceded him. Seeing those two presentations in a row, I got to talk to the manager at the training center. I have to start bringing the new cadets back to do their shows for classes, to make instructors of them right away. And I'll throw that out to you too. When your presentations, some of you can expect a call to come back and teach for the very next class. I can almost guarantee it. Anyway, I had never been, prior to that time, even though I was stationed at San Onofre, I'd never been to Ocotillo Wells, and I'd only been to Borrego a couple of times. And then Steve got down there, and I went down working on a project for Borrego. Before going to Ocotillo Wells, I had the impression that it was a godforsaken wasteland, torn to shreds by SUVs and motorcycles and every other wheeled horror known to man, and a few that aren't even known. Well, I got down there and I found that was all true. It is a barren wasteland. But I will also tell you there is magic in the desert, much magic in the desert. That desert dust corrodes your heart, and once it gets there, it tends to stay. You'll find people that go to the desert and spend their entire careers. It can be 120 degrees outside, and it's great. The desert is beautiful when it's hot. It's the way a desert's supposed to be. Not supposed to be cold, right? Hot. Anyway, one of the most magical nights of my life, 3 years ago, was watching the Perseid meteor shower at 110 degrees at 2 o'clock in the morning, lying on the worn sands in one of the washes in Ocotillo Wells, right at the border with Borrego. So there is much magic in the desert. Steve, in his program, managed to bring that magic of the desert to life for us in this classroom. I was blown away by it. It's probably the simplest presentation you're going to see today. No fancy 6 projectors. Nothing fancy, just simplicity. But simplicity in and of itself is never simple. Simplicity frequently is on the other side of the scale. So, with no further ado, Ranger Steve Bier from Ocotillo Wells, from the desert.
Thank you, Jim. Good evening. I'm Ranger Steve. On behalf of California State Parks and the Off-Highway Vehicle Division, I would like to welcome you to the Ocotillo Wells State Vehicular Recreation Area. We have some samples of some of the items that are found out here, and as the program ends tonight, you come up and take a look. You're more than welcome. If you have any questions, please save them for the end of the program. Got a lot of die-hard off-roaders out here today, and this is excellent. We're going to have a wild time at Ocotillo Wells tonight. Gathered together some colleagues of mine. It's a bit of an unorthodox program. They usually don't come out to speak to people. They're year-round residents who live right down the road. So I'm going to let them pretty much tell your story. Before we do that, though, there's a few housekeeping things we have to get out of the way. We're in earthquake country, and at any moment, the big one could happen. If it happens within the next 25 minutes or so, what I want to do is I want to split you in two. This side of the room, beginning in the back row, you're going to go through those double doors. You're going to go out the second set of double doors and stay in the parking lot. Folks over here, to keep the congestion down, also starting in the back row, through those double doors, out the second set, follow the pathway around to the left, and please, everybody meet up in the parking lot and stay there for me. Basically, our volunteers and our staff have been counting heads as you came in, and all the emergency personnel that are going to be coming in need to know that this building is clear so that they can go on and help other folks. If you've been enjoying the refreshments and food and drink outside and you didn't think that the program was going to start so soon, those same double doors right around the corner and the appropriately signed doors for you for the restrooms. Also, I have a tendency to talk softly, as you can tell, so if you're having a hard time hearing me, we do have some space available in the front rows. Come on up, take a seat. Also, for your viewing pleasure as you're driving home, we have a large print font copy of the script tonight you can take with you, sort of relive the moment. Wonder why you even came here tonight. No, it's for a good reason. You know, people often ask me, Ranger Steve, it's 128 degrees outside. We're inside this air-conditioned building. I can't even get on my ATV until after midnight. What keeps you here? I mean, you could fry an egg on the sand out here. And right away, I need to dispel that rumor. You cannot. It's physically impossible to fry an egg in the desert in the summertime, and I'll tell you why. Round about June 1st or 2nd, depending on the temperature outside, until about October, all the chickens in the desert give live birth. So see, you can't fry an egg on desert sand, and physically impossible. But what is one thing, I've been thinking about this for years, there's one thing that I would love to share with you. That's the desert rain. Desert rain is a life bringer around here. In fact, just before they start, the very first ones, you can almost feel the desert knock you over as it inhales, and then it's out easy. Let me set the scene for you. Over here off to my left and your right, these are the San Ysidro Mountains. You can see they're pretty nicely shadowed here tonight out the glass window. But imagine San Diego's right on the other side of those hills, within about a 2-hour drive, and all that beautiful moisture coming in meets up with the moisture that's coming from behind me in Baja California. In fact, that big V that you see in the mountains, we have the Fish Creeks and the Vallecitos on either side of me. That V is actually a fault zone that goes right through here. And then way off in the distance, off to my right and your left, that would be the Chocolate Mountain Gunnery Range, probably about 30 miles out there. And then directly behind you are the San Bernardino Mountains and Toro Peak off in the distance there. A lot of wind coming from that direction. But it's these San Ysidros that we're going to focus on, because you guys remember, what's the first thing when you're out home and the winds and the rains are coming for the first time? You guys know that smell? That smell that comes in the air? It's kind of, oh yeah, it's going to rain today. I shouldn't have washed the car yesterday. That's the same thing we get. I got it. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to be doing some things with my hands. Okay? As I come by, I want you to do those things until I come back by. And I think, with your cooperation, I think we can do this. I think I can give you desert rain. Are you guys up for that?
Yeah.
All right? You up for that?
Yeah.
All right, you guys got to hit the coffee on break next time. All right, so let me set the scene. Always starts with the wind coming in. Let's see if we can do this. Are you ready? Big desert sigh as a rainstorm passes. Give yourselves a hand. That's a great rainstorm. Excuse me while I run for an apparatus here. All right. Well, as I said, we're having a wild time at Ocotillo Wells tonight. Where is Ocotillo Wells? Well, of course, we know it's part of the state park system, Division of Off-Highway Vehicles, which basically has several up and down the state off-highway vehicle recreation areas for you to enjoy. This one is a little bit different. It's the largest, and it sits within one of the 5 deserts in California. We have the Sonoran Desert, we have the Mojave, we have a little spot of Death Valley, which kind of gets its own name. Chihuahuan, Great Basin. That's 5. There's actually one more. Oh, there we are. We're in a part of the desert, the Sonoran Desert, called the Colorado. Basically, all the deserts are defined by the vegetation that you find within their region. Specifically for our region, it's going to be creosote. Creosote is one of the oldest plant, or actually any life form, on the planet. We have one that's right down here in Imperial County, right before you get into Arizona. That's expected to be 10,000 years old with a clone of its children. The adult still lives right in the middle. Quite an amazing place. Usually our temperatures in the summertime average about 119 degrees. You guys are here on a warmer day than that. Congratulations. And of course, Ocotillo Wells. 85,000 acres of riding enjoyment. Most of it is open. About 14,000 acres on the east side is owned and operated by Bureau of Land Management. But we basically manage it for them, and it's a designated riding area. So virtually all sorts of places to go. You have hill climbs, you have canyons, caves, flat open desert, a few sand dunes in there. But that's not why we're here tonight. The reason we're here tonight is, again, I mentioned those colleagues. Well, you'll see what I mean. We're going to have a wild time. I've been working with these guys for a few years, and they're really up to the know scientifically on what we do out here. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to one of them now. This is Professor Wild E. Coyote.
Yes, good evening. My name is Wild D. Coyote, human expert. I'm here to speak to you today about a subspecies, not to be confused with my more famous cousin, Wild E. Coyote, who left us some time ago for fame and fortune in Hollywood. He comes back every once in a while, but usually stays to the northern reaches, perfecting his various and sundry gadgetries. But you are not here to learn about my family, no, you learn about yourselves. Here we have an example, what we call in the scientific community, Homo off-roadus. Now, Homo off-roadus is distinguished from other Homo sapiens by the large cranial covering, the extra outer layer of skin, and various and sundry contraptions betwixt and between their legs. Now, the desert was not always thus. Here we have a picture from my photo album going back many generations. You can see trees, lush greenery, and grasslands. Due to the increasing cost of gas and the commute time, most of my family has since moved on. Not written or called in some time. I wish them well. This is a cave painting that we discovered in one of the remote locations of the park. As you can see, this is an off-roadus, appears to be in shed. Here we have a cranial covering, an outer layer of skin, and most curiously, a biological conveyance. We believe on further conviction of this, that this is possibly a rite of passage into adulthood. Or possibly some of my colleagues think that this is the reason why they went to mechanical contraption rather than biological. Here we have the largest known off-roadus. This is Homo off-roadus gigantea. They frequented the desert about 60 years or so, and we can see this believed to be a family group. We have 1, 2, and 3 cranial coverings. Again, they are extirpated from the area. They have not been seen in some time. I could go on scientifically, but I believe there are some other friends of mine that I have brought to you today that wish to explain a little bit from a more personal family history. So without further ado, my dear friend and neighbor, Mr. R.C. Flattail. R.C.?
Greetings and salutations to all you off-roaduses out there. The name here is R.C. Flattail. That R.C. was given to me by ones of you. It stands for Run for Cover. Now I am here to tell you a tale that my great-grand Flattail told me a long time ago when I was but an egg. Once, a long time ago, the desert was a lush green environment. Plenty of space out there for flowers to grow, the sand to land, and especially for us flat-tailed horned lizards, for habitat for our favorite food, the ants. Now, if I was to ask you later on the program, what exactly is the favorite food of the flat-tailed horned lizard, your response to me would possibly be? Ants. You guys are very, very fast. But then along came the off-roaduses one day, and of course they congregated in large family groups, and you can see that the vegetation and the landscape slightly changed just a little bit. In fact, the day after my wedding, the missus and I were on the front porch having a cup of rings, and this was the view. Now we have gone through several, well, let's just say the fine china didn't make it through this event. But on a lighter note, here is my commute to work. Now I apologize if one of you is in the audience that might be in this photo, as I was trying to take this on the fly and didn't have time to include the Homo off-roadus in the photo. The important part of this though is if you look off in the corner here, we have what is called the root system. The root system of the plants is very, very important here in the desert environment, because the favorite food of the flat-tailed horned lizard, yes, they like to live within that root system. In fact, the sands will blow in, they will basically pile up on top of the root system. The ants will have an easier chance of getting in there and making up a home. And then as I'm on my way to work, I can stop off and have a snack or two. Now again, the environment here has changed just slightly, but we have discovered over time that you off-roadists are actually a benefit to the environment in this way for the flat-tailed horned lizard. You loosen the soils. You create loose soils which flow into the roots, and that provides a home habitat for what?
Ants.
And they are the preferred food of the who? Thank you very much. I shall see you a little bit later.
Yes, I am a sidewinder. And as sidewinders, when spring comes along, we usually seek our mates by following the trail that's left a little scent pattern. Well, imagine my surprise when I came out of hibernation this spring, and I was left with a trailing off-roadist who left this trail. Luckily, it is a scent pattern, and the missus and I are expecting our first clutch of 35 any day now.
Yeah, and I was told a story a long time ago. My great-grandmother, well, he was out and he was eating the lush green stuff, and all of a sudden an off-roadist came out of nowhere and flew on top of him. Well, he couldn't do anything, so he ran. And then the off-roadist kept following him, and then he ran again, and then the off-roadist kept following him, and he ran again. You know, when you're chasing us bunnies, we don't sweat. We can only take care of the heat in our ears, so we have to stop and rest. And if you keep chasing us, well, sooner or later we're going to be cutting TV dinners. I got a story too.
Oh, so do I, but I gotta eat something first. Someone please shut him up.
I got it, Doc.
Hey, disgusting. Oh, boy. As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, despite your revvings, your treadings, and your noxious leavings, we here at Ocotillo Wells are intent on staying. Oh, you go, Doc.
Yeah, that's the ticket.
Yeah, don't forget about us.
Me too.
Oh, it brings it back to me to tell you about a few things that you might have learned here today to take away with you. The one thing from the photograph that I took, it's very, very important that you stick to the trails, because we use those from our home front to our hunting grounds to our job site. And if you were to make a trail, say, over the back of my kitchen or into the bathroom, well, that could be disturbing to the family as well as to your tires. So if you would make a point of saying hello to us as you come through, but please stay on the trails. And I hope you have a wonderful time here at the Ocotillo Wells region. Give us a wave. As we watch Yosemite Sam sail off into the sunset, I'd like to thank you very much for coming out, and I hope this has been a little bit enlightening to you for the folks that live here on a year-round basis. You know, it's not only for the off-road environment, it's for the family groups that have lived here long before we came. So plenty of places to ride out here, 85,000 acres, plenty of room for them to play as well and to continue. The very last thing, as you leave here tonight, I know it's a little dark, you've probably been up for quite a while. We got a lot of nuts out there. So let's all head out, get on our bikes, and have a very safe and enjoyable time. Be squirrels, don't be nuts. Thanks for coming.
What did I tell you? Simplicity. Genius.
Dedication.
If you could see Steve all last night, practicing and talking in tones and voices, and well, okay, I'm going to have some coffee now. Okay, now I'm going to have some tea and lemon for my throat. And I can't have too much wine with the fish wife. And does this sound okay? How's this sound? He puts his heart and soul into this. He got up he probably went to bed at midnight and got up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was here at 6 this morning getting equipment ready. He was here about 10 after 6 practicing this. He probably went through it 5 or 6 times this morning before just doing it now.